fans. Hey, there's just 211 days until Christmas 2021. And oh my goodness, we have got a lot to talk about today. Start with just a couple of notes. One, we have a new person working on our thumbnail. So you'll notice that today's show had a very different looking thumbnail than we've used in the past. Huge thanks to our contributor who helped with that. And secondly, there's some changes coming. Tomorrow, you're going to notice some things on Discord, as well as we are going to start using the Discord stage tomorrow afternoon to talk about Star Wars. We're going to talk a little bit about the last Thrawn novel. I just finished it this week, so we'll start off with that discussion, and then we're just going to open up for anybody who wants to drop in. And let me mute a Magic Maker for just a moment. He's got some background noise coming in. But so we're going to do that discussion tomorrow afternoon on Discord. And then today, my friends, if you would go out to the link that I posted above in the chat to there's a Google form. Your predictions for tomorrow's or tonight's episode of the Bad Batch. There's a ton of questions in there. Yes, no stuff with an open-ended one at the end. Put your votes in there. What do you think is going to happen tonight? Who will you see? What will you see? That kind of thing. And we'll see how everyone scores and if you could beat Santa or not. Oh, Gray only has 40 minutes to go, and then you have to go. Gray, we will try to cover as much as we can in those 40 minutes. And then let's say hello, Mark Hamilton. Thank you so much for being here today. And Mark pointed me to some news this morning. We'll talk about Mickney. Hello, Everyday Geeks. Our friends are here. Thanks for being here. Cole the Ninja. Hello. It's good afternoon for you. It's good afternoon for my friends over in Europe. We've got a couple of folks over there that I happen to know are here in the stream today. So thanks so much. Abby, good morning. Hello. Ducky's here. Jacob. Hello there, Jacob. Thanks for being here. And that intro makes my day better. Thank you so much. We had help with that as well. We've got some great people in the community that give us some fantastic stuff. Dale Erdman, Star Wars. Oh, we've got Star Wars today, Dale. Lots and lots of Star Wars. So let me get through.
Actually, I thought today we were doing Marvel Santa.
My friend Imagic Maker is with us here. We've got so much on the agenda today. And if you guys have hung out with us at all, you know that Imagic Maker loves rabbit holes. He absolutely adores them. There's not a rabbit hole he's seen that he won't jump into. And today,
just call me Alice today.
That's right. Today, it's going to be all Santa can do to keep him from going too deep into those things. So we can cover everything we have to cover. We have a lot of stuff to go with. And I'm going to do things a little bit differently today. I've got the agenda put into these little banners that we can put at the bottom. And our first topic is the Bad Batch, Episode 4 review. What do you think of Episode 4, Magic Maker?
It left me a little curious about Omega. She is much more childlike in this, less aware. I don't know. It's really interesting. I saw some complaints about the way Wrecker was used and that he was taken out so easily. I didn't have as many issues with that. It just seemed like he was, kind of just overconfident and didn't realize how skilled his opponent was with Fennec Shand.
Yeah, for me, the episode was short. Right?
It was short. 24
minutes, something like that, 26. And that battle between them was about 5 seconds. It was really short. They could have extended that just a little bit.
No, I think it was perfect. I mean, it's kind of a David versus Goliath moment.
I'm not saying that he should have won or anything, but they could have extended it out, like tripping him and knocking his head into the wall. There could have been a little more, like I think that works, right? Because she's definitely more nimble than him. He is more muscle than, I put it yesterday, more brawn than brain.
No, that's true.
And so I don't have any problem with her defeating him, but I think that it could have been pulled out a little bit more so that we got just a little better than a trip and a bang and that's over.
Right. No, I was okay with it. It didn't bother me.
Yeah. But
Uncle Bob is here.
Uncle Bob, our uncle. Hello. Oh, thanks for joining, Bob. And Reefer Man Reviews. Good to see you, Wayne. And Edward, hello. Mark and I both read Vader. Oh, okay. The comics. Yeah, there's some good stuff out there. I'm tired of the Rebels like fetch quests, Logan says. What we've got here, and this is anytime you have a serialized show like this, they're episodic. There's a beginning and an end. And if you're going to do them in roughly 30-minute segments, there needs to be something contained within that. That's not that long. And so you are going to end up with these. Very good, Mark. Thank you so much. I saw his note. He just found the John Boyega video. We've got some stuff to cover. Oh, I can't wait. A Magic Maker says, oh boy. That rabbit hole is delicious. I know.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, so I'm real curious about it on this one, and so I can kind of pin my head, just pin my thinking around what's going on.
Well, we'll watch it together. We'll watch it together. I have not seen it either. I saw the video about it, but not the video itself. So I can't wait to watch it myself, and we can break it down. So anytime you have an episodic thing like this, the episodes themselves to me are not so much what the show is about. It's about the characters and the character development. For me personally, that's what I get more out of it. And all of these episodes, after the first one, it was over an hour, but 2, 3, and 4 each have had some fantastic character development. And I thought you were really good about bringing up the point about Omega. We saw her in episode 1 seem to almost be sentient in some ways, right? She knew what was going to happen before it happened, or she knew what they were thinking. But since then, we've seen her very childlike with some major flaws, inabilities. She trips, she falls, she overthrows. She's not at all overpowered or Mary Sue-ish, in my view. And in this last episode,
she's definitely not Mary Sue-ish. At least not yet.
So I've enjoyed them for that. And I saw Star Wars Theories reviews of them, and he mentioned how he's waiting for it to get back to the story, which was, and he filled in the blank. I think for everybody, we each have a little bit of thing that we bring in our expectations. And this is a theme today. We'll talk about our expectation, what we bring into a story, or how we interpret things. Because you and I, this is one of the strengths we really have on this show, is that you and I are able to kind of notice those things about ourselves and each other and bring out, and we're enough different that it really helps with the discussion.
Yeah.
But for me, Omega has plot armor, Edward. Well, sure she does.
Every main character has plot armor.
Every show you've ever seen. Right, it's crazy,
but it's not implausible plot armor at this point.
Exactly.
And, I mean, we haven't reached the level of no way.
Right. And I mean, that happens a lot in fantasy. It happens a lot in sci-fi. And Star Wars falls more into the space fantasy than it does sci-fi. But in all of those, it definitely happens all the time. And Ducky was saying, I assumed they would go planet to planet saving people like the A-Team. I think we're getting there.
I think we're about to get there as well. This is the beginning where we're setting this up. We're setting the situation up. I think that'll be the second half of the season.
Very good. Very good. So episode 5, the predictions. What are you looking for? What do you expect we might see this episode?
Well, I think they are going to get where they were looking for to hide, and I think, but I know that there's a good chance they're also looking for Rex, but they haven't stated it explicitly, and so I think that's starting to unfold. The other aspect that we're going to get is we're going to get some more details into who's looking for or after Omega. And so, I mean, of course, I think we got some ideas, but I think that things are starting to proceed on that, on what that's all about. And I think we're going to see this kind of end up being almost like the Mandalorian in the sense that, they got to find a place for Omega. And so I think that's kind of how it's going to unfold.
So I go back to the A-Team, right? So I haven't given up on that. And we saw this last week. They were headed towards this pretty much uninhabited planet where they were going to hide out. But they had to stop on the way. And they stopped on that moon, and they didn't.
Right, Pantora is where they had to stop.
Right, the moon of Pantora, not Pantora itself, right?
I think the main place where everybody lives is that Pantora. The main planet is the ice planet that you saw in the Clone Wars.
You think that's where they're headed?
No. Yeah. That's where they stopped for change out everything. So that's Pantora, where we saw all the Pantorans, the blue people that have the yellow tattoos, on their faces.
Right. Yes, for sure. I was still on episode 3 on that moon with the dragon. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I'm still talking about 4. I apologize.
Yeah. The one I actually mentioned. That's the one you're talking about.
No, so that one with 3 was with the energy dragon.
Right. I just I flipped them in my brain. No, yeah, we were Pantora is where they were. They were on that in the city there. Right, the blue people. Star Wars likes blue people, lots of blue people. And I said, oh, I love Thrawn. I love the Chiss, and we'll talk about that maybe tomorrow for sure. I've been loving these Thrawn novels.
Yeah, I got to get through them. I'm finding them a little bit slower than the original Thrawn trilogy, which is kind of hard for me. I do think they're less. I think there are some silly elements in the original Heir to Empire trilogy, and I find this one to be more serious, which I like. I just it's a little slower.
Yeah, and Logan mentioned, do you think we could get a new adaptation of Boba and Cad Bane's arc? So Cad Bane's another blue dude, right? Not a Pantoran and not a Chiss. I can't remember what his species is off the bat, but he's another blue dude. And the Pantorans are blue dudes. But episode.
Is he Duro?
Yes, that's it. You got it. So I think they're going to head towards the original planet back in episode 3 before they broke down. I think they're going to head to hide. And they're going to establish a secret base of operations, much like the A-Team. They had a secret hideout of sorts. Of course, they had the van, but I think we're going to end up with a secret base of operations where they're able to get food, be able to hide, and then all the episodes from there will be offshoots from there. I think this is where we're going to run into our Trandoshan boss lady. They're going to need.
I think you're right. I think they'll start getting their missions from her.
Yep, that's it. That's where my head is. And so we're not going to meet Rex. We're not going to get to that yet. And so Mike Porter, I'm blue, but I have no idea what my background is. Mike, you're healing. You're blue. It's called recovery from surgery. That's
Blue Bombadita.
So that's my prediction. I think we're going to meet the Trandoshan lady, and we know that when they meet Rex, Omega has her bow, and so we're not going to meet Rex until she gets the bow. She doesn't have it yet, so I don't think we're going to meet Rex just yet. So that's my predictions for episode 5. We've got a lot more to get to, folks. So we're going to kind of not explore it as deep as maybe we would on a normal day, because it is crazy, my friends. It is crazy. Will Grogu be in the Book of Boba Fett or in Mando 3? So I want to share with everybody this image. It's a staff shirt from the Buccaneer, right? That's the name of the that's the production name for what in last October was reported as Mandalorian season 3, but lately has been reported as the Book of Boba Fett. And I think we all saw this image over here on the right last week where it said Buccaneer season 1. You say, oh, season 1, that means there's going to be a season 2, right? And what's interesting about this dash shirt is it's Legacy Effects Creature Crew. Legacy Effects Creature Crew. Keep that in mind. Look at the top left. Who do we see on the pocket of this shirt?
Yoda.
We no. We see Grogu. So the question is, if this is a Book of Boba Fett staff shirt and we see Grogu, we know that this is from our Legacy Effects crew, Creature Crew, and they've got Grogu on it. Is Grogu going to be in the Book of Boba Fett? What do you think?
I'm so hard pressed to believe it, but I mean, if he's on there, maybe.
It's hard to say, isn't it?
Well, I mean, he's on Tatooine. Maybe Mark, maybe Luke Skywalker returns to Tatooine and brings Grogu along.
That's another part of it that comes in there, right? Nikki, hey, thanks for stopping. Can't stay, but had wanted to stop in, and she best believe we're getting a Grogu cameo and Boba. So I'm a little stuck on this. It's the creature department, right? The creature crew. I wonder if Grogu is there for the crew. If this is their logo, that creature crew has the Grogu logo, and they're working on the Buccaneer project. And the Grogu logo might just be their crew logo.
Yeah, that's likely. I mean, I think that's believable. I think that's a good way to. So maybe it's not a misdirect. Maybe we're just reading too much into what they use as their the symbol of their department. Right. And so Mike Porter says it's a misdirect. Spencer. Hello, Spencer. Spencer's a reliable member of the of our audience. Spencer says Grogu won't appear. It's a red herring. But then Mark points out, as Star Wars Meg posted in her video today, that the Grogu puppet was on the set of the Book of Boba Fett. The people who reported it saw the puppet on the set. They didn't see it being filmed, but did see the puppet on the set. So just to cloudy the waters. Grogu or no Grogu, I think that we might see Grogu. And in fact, I'm going to say Grogu will appear in the Book of Boba Fett, and we will get Luke Skywalker in the Book of Boba Fett. Yeah, I think it's got to be that way. I mean, it's on Tatooine.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, that's got to be what it is. Luke Skywalker and
I agree. I
don't know how the story will play out, but that just seems.
Yep. I'm 100% there. That's where I think we are. And I'm not sure it'll be another Mark Hamill de-aging thing. We might actually get, what's his name, in here as Luke Skywalker. That would be great. But
I think it depends on the length.
Yeah, could be. But, there was some talk about Spencer, the Book of Boba Fett crew stole the Grogu puppet. Sebastian Stan, that's it.
That could be it. Maybe it's like stealing the goat from the Navy,
stealing the goat from Navy. That's right. I'm an Army guy. Yeah, maybe it is. But I think more likely we're going to get Sebastian Stan and Grogu. Again, I go back to the story that goes all the way back to where the Mandalorian story idea came from. Jon Favreau saying that it was seeded from the Paper Moon movie. And that plot line followed along really, really well in both of the seasons, all the way to the point where the child is delivered to its kind, right? Well, in the movie, the child doesn't stay with its kind. It returns back. So I could very well see Luke and Grogu showing up at the same place where Din is, and Grogu going back to Din. And the reason that could all work together is it fits with the movie arc. It also fits with what we know it should be canon, that Ben Solo was Luke's first student. And so people were saying, well, they've already retconned because now Grogu is going to be Luke's first student. And I think there's many different ways you can slice that. You could say Ben was Luke's first student after he started his academy, and Grogu is his student before the academy. So
yeah, I think that it's written, and they already have shown propensity to spin in the live action any way they want to. They kind of ignore it.
Yeah, anyway,
whatever's written is kind of ignored.
Well, yeah, we have seen that. What is it? Film over paper, right? If you're playing rock, scissors, paper, that's about the order it goes in, right? So anything that's on paper in a book or a comic book is at the lowest end of that, and then you get, of course, movies at the top, and you're going to end up with live action somewhere in the mix there. So I think that's kind of the order that we're starting to see with Dave Filoni.
Yeah,
and it fits with how he was raised with George Lucas, and so yeah, I think that's it. All right, we need to move on. I think yes, we are going to. That's my prediction. We'll talk about it as we get closer. And that was the second half of that question was, will Luke Skywalker be in the Book of Boba Fett? I think we've already said yes. And you guys can probably hear my daughter's dog whining over here in the corner. It's got to go to the vet today, and so we're dog sitting, and she wants my attention, and she's not getting it. So the next point on here, JJ.
I thought it was apparent that the dog knew he or she was going to the vet.
That could be it. I'm going to mute myself for a second and holler at her. Okay.
Well, I'm not muted, so I guess I should stop the silence from being there.
So J.J. Abrams has learned it's better to have a plan. So this has been everywhere in the...
I told you that the sequel trilogy wasn't planned.
Oh, my goodness. You know, this has everybody... This has everybody worked up, right? And
see, they just went into it willy-nilly. No one knew it was going to happen. See, he just proved it.
Well, I mean, he definitely supports that line of thinking. So I think that...
So if y'all liked it and thought it was all planned out from the beginning, you're wrong. You're wrong.
Wrongity wrong. Most wrong. Look, I think, and I've always said this, I think that there has been a plan. It's just been very thin. And I've used the example before, and I'm going to continue because I think it still fits. Like they said, the plan is we're going to take a trip from New York to LA. We want to start in New York on June 1st, and we want to arrive in LA no later than June 15th. And that was the plan.
And the result is they ended up in Seattle.
No. I think
but they did make it to the West Coast.
I think they actually did. They made it to where they wanted. But the thing is, they didn't say the mode of transportation. They didn't set, and they didn't, as we handed off, the directors took different modes. So we went, planes, trains, and automobiles. So it's like we went 3 different modes of transportation to get there. We kind of, through those transitions, had some difficulties. But we did make it from New York to LA in the time that they set forth. But what JJ is saying is it's much better if you have an ending in mind, something planned out where you know how you're going to get there. And I don't think that they did. Look, I love the sequels. I enjoy them quite a bit, but I don't think they had that planned thoroughly. And because of that, they were free to roam. Right, they did it.
Yeah, I honestly don't think they had it clear they wanted to end up in a single location. I just think they kind of knew basically where they wanted to go. Like I said, I think you may say they wanted to go to LA and they felt it was close enough to end up on the West Coast. I mean, I think that's a pretty good example,
maybe
of
so,
how it turned out, because they just, each person had an idea of what direction and route to take, and because they weren't really certain on the final destination. And I think that's really, somebody said, let's end up on the West Coast. Nobody said where. I think that's kind of what happened.
That could be it. Or they just said we got to California,
Yeah, or somewhere in California. We want to go to California.
Right.
And somebody had that they were going to San Francisco. Somebody had they're going to San Diego, and somebody thought they were going to LA. And so the plan was to take different highways all along the way.
Oh my goodness, we've got Al Schuler. The man is in the building. Oh, hello there, Al Schuler. Thank you so much for stopping in. I agree with you. I think to a degree, I think it followed a little closer. But right before we started the show, I mentioned that J.J. Abrams has a reputation for not sticking landings.
That's very true.
You go back to Lost. And I think it's apparent through Lost. Like, Lost started off extremely well, and his mystery boxes were fantastic. And it picked up a lot of steam and headwind, but a lot of people felt let down by how it ended. I don't think Lost had an ending. I don't think they knew where it was headed. And as it continued season over season, they were filling in the blank.
Right. So the part of the thing is like, J.J. Abrams likes to create these open-ended questions, but with no answer, with no place where you're going.
Exactly.
And then he leaves it. So everybody else goes, well, I don't really know what he was setting up. Let's see if I can kind of figure out how to go.
Yeah. And I think what JJ's saying in this interview is he's learned a lesson.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think he said you got to figure out your final destination first and plan how to get there. And,
yeah.
And the reason being is because if you're any familiar with anything about writing, whether it's a screenplay or a novel or anything, just think about when you're reading it, what you're seeing is like there's threads that weave through it, and if you don't know where that destination of that arc is going to go, you don't know how important each little detail is.
Yeah.
And so it's important to start dropping those things through there, even if you don't know how they're going to connect necessarily at the end. But as long as you know you're where you got to get to.
That's exactly right. And I think that's a good sign for JJ as a whole. Like that maybe his future will be a little bit less frustrating. And because he's got this reputation for a reason. Right. Rise of Skywalker isn't the only time it's happened, or Force Awakens, right? Like right. Lost is another perfect example of how he's lost his way along the way, right? As we put it in the quote, Lost got lost along the way.
I think that's true, and yeah. with what it is, and I think he recognizes that. Listen, we didn't establish a hard, fast vision of where things were going to end. So, I mean, the one thing that made like the original trilogy so good, the reason why people liked it is because we did have a central vision of how the basic overall arc was going to go. Even if there was some little changes along the way, and then we had other writers come in and directors come in and make that vision come to life, right? So
Yeah.
even though George started it off, and it was overall his story that expanded and got filled in, and the threads got placed together and spun in, even though it wasn't what he originally planned, and it came out to this great overarching trilogy that we, of course, all adore and have fallen in love with, which is why we're here. What happened, I think, with the sequel trilogy is there wasn't that overarching vision that even if we brought other writers in to fill that pieces out, there wasn't really an end destination to where it needed to be in the final place. And I think, and so nobody was there to say, hey, we have this location to go to. Driving up to into Canada is not going to get us to California, man. I mean,
Well,
and so Ryan Johnson is like, but we wanted to see Vancouver, and
right,
and
I think
so
right,
British Columbia is beautiful. I mean, and so you end up in this location. You end up in this location where you're like, I'm not exactly sure how we're getting to California here. So we'll be in California. We'll be in Northern California, by the end of the week.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's all exactly spot on. I think you're nailing it. I'm trying to keep you from going too deep in the hole because there's some good stuff coming.
Right.
But you are absolutely spot on. And as it applies to the sequel trilogy itself, I think my analogy still holds up largely. And for people who complain that there was no plan, I still want to say I can't believe there was no plan. I believe there was a plan, just it was very thin and had hardly any details to it. They let each writer, each director, writer, come up with their own story to fill in the space. And
without an overarching vision to rein people in. I think that was the main issue.
Exactly. And I think we've seen Star Wars, Lucasfilm specifically, I think we've seen Lucasfilm learn their lesson. We saw it in the planning for the High Republic. We saw it in the planning for the Mandalorian. And I absolutely love, if you guys haven't watched, anybody here, have you not watched The Gallery? I encourage you, please go back and watch season 1 of The Gallery. But it's very clear there that they knew exactly what was going to happen. Like that story was planned. Each episode was planned. The shots were planned. Before they ever got on set, they knew what shot was going to be. They knew what was going to happen, and they didn't have to. The directors talked about how great that was. Now, they still had to make on-set decisions and made changes along the way. Unexpected things happen, like what JJ was talking about. And they had to make changes on the fly. But they knew where they were going, right? They knew exactly how
the thing is that what you're talking about is exactly where, and this is not intended to talk bad about Kathleen Kennedy in this sense. The issue you have, and this has repeatedly come up, whether it was with Solo or with Rogue One and other things, is pre-production.
Yeah.
Right? So what you're talking about right now, knowing where the shots are going to be and everything like that before you even walk on set, that's a pre-production piece, and it's actually super key that a producer and basically executive producer is tracking all the pre-production that's occurring, because the most expensive part is production, is the shooting and everything. So everything needs to be planned out in pre-production. So if you're not watching this piece, then that means you're not watching your money. And so an executive producer is actually sitting there very closely, typically with a director and a team, ensuring pre-production is going smoothly. And so the reason why I think you saw so many different corrections, whether it was Solo, whether it was a Rogue One, and is that that she hasn't been watching closely.
Yeah.
And it got to a place where they were like, that's not that's not where our vision was, and now we have to make all these changes. So Kathleen Kennedy actually has a lot of fault in that. I mean, I'm not saying that she's overall. I'm not trying to. This is not a situation where I'm trying to say she should, she's awful and she should not be in, Star Wars or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if there's fault to be laid at Kathleen Kennedy's feet, it is that right there.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. I'm not a Kathleen Kennedy hater, but a lot of people throw produce at her, rotten eggs and all of that over everything, and not she doesn't deserve to be booed over everything. There's specific roles and responsibilities for being the president of the company. It's sort of the buck stops here idea, but she also has very specific responsibilities. Some of those she's carried out extremely well, but I think it's very clear that, at least from my perspective, and I'm I'm not a producer, an executive producer, or studio head, but
no, me either. But I mean, I'm just saying that those are the pieces that are very crucial. They are in a sense a supervisor of how the money is spent, because they get the money, they get the resources, and they supervise that it's being that it is moving properly, and that what is being done is on path with the overall production plan. And so they're actually really crucial in that, and I know she I mean, you can place on her on her mantle all the different childhood stories of our stories of our childhood, mine and yours, and there's just so many of them. So I mean, I'm not trying to belittle or blame her for everything. I'm just saying that failure can be clearly laid at her feet.
I agree.
And so, and I don't know if it's because it was a lot more work to do than she was used to, and she was distracted by it, and it wasn't just producing films anymore. And I'm not saying I know why it is. I'm just saying that when you do that is a crucial part of what you do. And I think she dropped the ball on that.
I think they've learned. That's my takeaway. Not only has JJ learned, I think Lucasfilm has learned. And we see that evidenced in the High Republic novels, where they clearly had a plan for that. And I just watched the video this morning that Star Wars put out on the next wave of High Republic content. And Kevin Scott mentioned it in that interview that he knew exactly what was going to happen. It made it really easy for him to write the book.
Right.
It made it really easy for him to write the comics. He's done both in this series because he knew what was going to happen. It was planned, and that's what JJ is saying. I think so. We've seen it throughout Lucasfilm now that this experience taught not only JJ but taught Kathleen and Lucasfilm, everybody involved, the story group. That this needs.
I'm sorry. I'm looking
some of the comments are great. Yeah. So
I make red-eye videos in my sleep.
So
I have nightmares about her. It's awful.
Mark Hamilton put a great. I want to get caught up with the comments. We'll move to the next topic. But Mark put, will JJ Superman know how to land, or will you have to just keep flying? Because JJ doesn't know how to land and stick a landing.
It'll be like Smallville. Every time he tries to land, it's just
or Greatest American Hero. There you go.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. We're just flying into signs.
You talk about something needs a remake. So we've got the A-Team, in action. Come on, folks. We need a new Greatest American Hero.
Yes, we do.
Absolutely. Bad. So bad.
Absolutely.
Talk about a guy.
I want the same theme song too. Believe it or not, I'm walking on air.
Oh, it was so good. Will Morgan, hello there. Hey, Will, I know you did some shooting. I imagine you are cleaning up your video to post out there. Can't wait to see it. Thanks for stopping in. Ducky, his interview probably had more to do with wanting to distance himself from sequel haters. It could be. But I think he's being honest too. The guy gets a lot of blame for how Lost ended. He gets a lot of criticism from the Star Trek community and, of course, from the Star Wars community. And he talked about learning this, especially through the pandemic year. So other projects that he's worked on, this has come to fruition throughout his career. So I think he's doing the interview for Collider, but I think his answer had to do with all of that, right? Ducky says Superman will hover the whole movie. Let's see.
Why do you keep flying everywhere? I don't know how to land.
I don't know how to land. uh, yes. So Mark does bring up another point on Mando season 2, the Boba episode. Robert Rodriguez had a very thin script, and I think that thing notably was, what did he say it was? It was short, like really short.
Well,
like,
I think it's because there was a lot of they fight.
Yeah. But they still, they knew where the story was going.
Right. I think the story was fully done out, and then it was the reason why you have that, instead of writing all the choreography that of the fight, it's they battle. That's the line.
Yeah.
And so then you have 2 minutes of fighting, and that's represented by one line in the script.
Yeah. Chillmonger, gallery wasn't special because it shows what they planned. That they planned. It's expected. Well, but Chillmonger, it shows us that something we knew didn't happen was happening. And so what changed? What changed between them not planning to them planning? I think it's
Jon Favreau.
There you go. A week after Mando seasons dropped, the gallery shows how they were made. We've not seen that with the sequels, not even in the behind-the-scenes DVDs. There was one with The Last Jedi that showed a good bit of stuff. And I thought that the documentary with Last Jedi is actually really, really good. But
we know they were editing on script on site, trying to figure out how to do a scene. I mean, it's like it was not well thought through. In all honesty, I mean, if you're editing on site, so you can go, that didn't look right. Let's shoot that again. That you haven't fully planned it.
Yeah. So you're laughing at what Mark put about you, right? You make red-eyed KK videos in your sleep.
Yeah.
And
I do. Just for me, it gives me nightmares all night.
Yeah. Russell, Wu-Tang Wells, point being, Disney felt comfortable filming and producing a show around a show because of how well planned it was. I think that's true. Even the gallery season 2, through the pandemic and all that, it's a one episode, right? Which was disappointing, but it does give you nice insights. So we need to move on. There's more to talk about.
No.
There is. We got 3 more topics. So Zack Snyder wrote a Star Wars story. Apparently, it was based on the Kurosawa story arc, and
there's a lot of them. Which one?
Yeah, I think there were 7 of them, something like that.
Kurosawa's got a lot of movies.
Yeah, I don't know but he pitched it to Lucasfilm. They passed, and so now he's adapting that for a different whole franchise, something new. And I find this interesting. First of all, that we get a lot of times people want to write a story and they shoehorn it into an existing franchise. I think it happens way too much, where it makes it difficult for somebody to tell the story they want to tell because they're trying to shoehorn it into something else. If you want to,
I don't know. I mean, if you think about, I hate to go down this path, but for all of y'all who like Twilight, I mean, Shades of Grey was a Twilight fan fiction originally. So I mean, it was shot off into its own thing. I mean, and that happens with other stuff too. That's the first thing that pops in my head, which is probably indicative of how I think, which is bad.
Well, no, I just mean there's a lot of criticism about The Last Jedi that Rian Johnson wanted to tell his story, and it didn't matter anything else. That's a narrative you hear all the time. Now, I don't buy it completely because I like The Last Jedi. I like the sequels, but I hear that. Also, you see where they want to introduce, let's say they want to introduce a new person of color superhero. Rather than take and create a new superhero, they'll take an existing franchise and change it, gender swap it, race swap it, whatever, for a new character, right, under the same franchise logo. Sometimes they do that well, sometimes they don't. But every time they do it, they get criticized when you're gender swapping or race swapping a character that's already established. And so that's what I mean. Like, if you've got a story you want to tell, rather than take that story and shoehorn it into an existing franchise, why not create something new? A new superhero, a new franchise, a new storyline, rather than rebooting or rebranding something that already exists.
Because profit motive.
Profit motive. Yeah, I think that's really good. That's exactly. I'm interested in this. I'm not critical of Lucasfilm nor Zack Snyder. I know a lot of people are saying, well, Zack Snyder wouldn't fit within Lucasfilm because they want too much control and he's more of a freedom kind of guy. Maybe that's true. But in any event, either way, I'm on board. Let's see where it goes.
Yeah, I think that. I mean, I know that there has been a lot of poo-pooing of the position that Filoni has.
Yeah.
Gotten, they're saying that executive position existed since last year and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I did see some differences. I mean, we see Yang has story executive. It says story executive Star Wars.
Right.
And where or creative executive, where Filoni is just a creative executive, right? And so it didn't have the little separate. And where he's sitting at is at position number 4. So I really do think that Filoni has basically, Kathleen Kennedy has realized that her vision of Star Wars isn't cohesive fully through. And so she hasn't been trying to put a full universe kind of story together. I mean, she has too many other things to do. And I think originally she thought, well, this can be done. We're just telling the Skywalker saga, and we're going to do 3 trilogies, and we'll start off where, 34 years later, so we don't have anything tying us down. And which is why she said we don't have all this stuff to pull from, meaning that we weren't pulling from all this stuff that had been created before to write the sequel trilogy. We were trying to create something at a distance so that we weren't tied down with stuff that came before, only to realize that that's just not true. And that there are people who really know the details and know where things should, or at least think they know where things should go. And so with that, Filoni has a really good handle, even if people don't agree with him everything, even if people get pissed off at him because they changed something from Legends. He's got a pretty good handle on what Lucas vision was and where he wanted to go with it and how to keep those pieces all together and working. And so I do think that Filoni has moved up into what is really the position overall for storytelling over Star Wars, and that he is that I think Kathleen Kennedy trusts him to work through these details out and keep things on path. And I think that the High Republic wasn't under that when it was developed, but I think from this point on, that there won't be, after the High Republic finishes off and the current novels finish off, you'll see them all roll under what Filoni wants to do for his vision, and that he will be the executive that determines the story in Lucasfilm as far as Star Wars is concerned.
Well, there's certainly still some problems, right? As far as the story group is concerned, inconsistencies. It's already well documented. Even Dave Filoni, right? Not paying attention to things. But and I don't want to go too far down, a path. We've got a couple other big things to cover today, but I think we're going in a very good direction to be able to see them planning things further, promoting Dave, putting some more pieces in place. I think are indicators of Lucasfilm evolving, becoming a better story company as a whole, and preparing for its next phase.
Right. You got to understand that when Lucasfilm sold from Lucas, I mean, their kind of their command structure, if you want to look at it, was kind of ripped out. So
yeah.
I mean, Lucas provided so much creative input on everything, even if it wasn't fully thought out. It's like he had ideas. Say, I kind of want to go here, and what we also don't recognize is that Lucas really didn't run the business side of things, and this is really important. I've said this multiple times. What he did is he provided a creative direction for people to go, and everybody else filled the details in. And Kathleen Kennedy's come in from it and I do think that Lucas thought that he could influence Kathleen Kennedy to still be the creative director of Lucasfilm, and that Kathleen Kennedy would just run the business side of things, but he could do it without having to deal with the everyday problems. And so I do think that's kind of what he wanted, and I think the I think Iger didn't want that. She was like, "No, you sold it," and I think that and I got it, Kathy. You love George, but you now are in charge, and I know you want to be in charge, and I'm separating you off.
Yeah,
and you're going to have to do that.
I got to put the brakes on you again, keep you from going too deep. We could go down a whole nother path talking about this.
Right. I'm just saying that as far as the structure is concerned, and they're finally, and I think that's that misstep of that structure is what led to the plan not getting fully thought through, or at least having a final place of ending occurring when it came to the sequel trilogy. And now they're finally understanding what kind of structure they need to have in order to proceed forward.
Yeah, they're evolving as a company. Absolutely. I think they're evolving as a company. And just to finish this topic and move on, Mark Hamilton posted, Kathleen was never creative producer like Feige. And I agree, she wasn't creative producer. Kathleen needed someone like Filoni to steer the ship. And she trusted her directors to do that. And that's, I think, around the sequel trilogy, we see that where she let Ryan write his story. She let JJ write his story. But yeah, they needed that in place. And so she fast-tracked Dave up the ranks. And she did have a lot to do with him being where he is today, taking him from being, part of the animation team to leading that, to leading, being involved in The Last Jedi, being on set with Ryan, learning director tips from Ryan, and then promoting him up, joining him with Jon Favreau, letting them develop the Mandalorian. Like, she had a lot to do with Dave being where he is, grooming him to get there, and putting him into places to learn the things he needed to be where he is today. Right. So I think that's absolutely.
I don't know how true or untrue that is. I can neither verify nor deny that. But ultimately, the buck stops with her when it comes to this. So you have to give her credit.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what Dave Filoni himself has said about her as well. So we need to move on, because we've got a big one. We've got a big one coming up, and two away. Did Bob Chapek leak a Solo2 project? Oh, so he was in an interview with investors or somebody like that the other day, and he was asked a question about something or other, and he answered saying that they had a Solo project in the works. And they said, and then he retracted immediately. Said, no, not Solo, Boba Fett. He repeated it like several times. They said, oh, so was it a Freudian slip, or was it just a misquote?
I think they do have a Solo2 project in the works. It's called Lando.
It's called Lando. Well, people want more, right? People want to be able to see, and I've heard it put I saw the
hashtag.
Yeah, well, not only that, but they want to see Jabba the Hutt, right? So that like Jabba the Hutt Chronicles or something like that, and see Solo working for Jabba. But I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know. There's a whole rumor about the Crimson Dawn series following Maul and Kira. So I think there's more than just Lando in the works. If this Crimson Dawn rumor that's been out there for a long time has any credibility to it, that's part of the Solo2 project. And then the missing part is really that Han and Chewie combination, where they're out on a regular weekly series.
I actually don't want to see that.
I do.
What I would like to see, I would like to see the Lando one-off series, meaning that we get maybe 6 to 10 episodes, and that leads us into a Crimson Dawn series. Because the reason why I like the idea of that is because I like the idea of dealing with side characters, and with the appearances and mystery laid out of, how did Han get here? I'm not saying I don't want Han Solo and Chewie to appear in these things. I just don't want them in primarily in the face of us all the time, because there is some mystery that's beautiful about it. And so when we get to the movies and we don't know what occurred between the movies, there's a real beauty in that mystery of how they got to different things. And it's one of the kind of complaints I have about the series that they had with the comic books, with all the little adventures of Luke and Han and Leia. I mean, between Star Wars and Our New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, because they take away some of the. It's nice. It's almost nice not knowing what happened when they say, "Well, since we met that bounty hunter on Ord Mantell," and not knowing really what occurred there. I mean, there's mystery to that lets you fill it in with your head and makes the story all the more rich.
Yeah, I agree. And we're under 5 minutes left, so I want to get to this last piece. But yeah, I agree. Like, I would like to see it though. There's pieces of that story that are wide open and can be told, and I want to see it. So
yeah, I guess I would just like to see it in a side story where it comes in and you have a episode with Han Solo that comes in, and they're like, oh, hey, there's that piece of that mystery.
All right, so here we go. I want to get to this last piece here. John Boyega said he'd come back to play Finn with conditions. So you and we've not heard this. I did hear the story that said John Boyega would absolutely come back to do Finn. He's on board to play Finn in another project, but he had conditions that he wanted Kathleen Kennedy involved and he wanted JJ involved. So here's the source video that actually says it, so we can listen to it together here. Let me set the volume. Make sure.
Whichever way, I'm open to the conversation as long as it's Kathy and JJ and maybe someone else. And if it's the team, it's a no-brainer. That we help and we consider, so whichever way, I'm open to the conversation as long as it's Kathy and JJ and maybe someone else. If it's the team, then it's a no-brainer.
So there you go. We listened to it twice. So yeah, he's open to the conversation as long as it involves JJ or Kathy and JJ and perhaps somebody else.
Yeah, and the team or something along those lines. Yeah, it's without context. I mean, that little piece is there though. So yeah, I'll probably need to watch the whole thing and to give a full opinion on it. I think it seems contradictory to things that he said before. I don't know. Maybe his opinion's changed. I don't know. People are entitled to have different of opinion. Maybe they offered him a lot of money. Who knows?
I think the question, from what I understand, the question was, would he come back to play Finn in the Star Wars?
Yeah, I mean, but there's still context to the whole conversation that sets this whole thing up.
Sure, I understand that. But I think that's the question ahead of that is, would he come back? And he says, I'm open to the conversation as long as it involves Kathy, JJ, somebody else in the team, right? Yeah. So for that, there's a couple of things about JJ or about about John Boyega. One is he has this pattern where he does a project, he gets tired of that project and says he'll never do it again. Well, after 4 or 5 years, he says, oh, I'd love to go back and do that project. It's because he likes to move from one project to another, and he doesn't want to get pigeonholed into one franchise. So I don't think he's on board for like being a part of a cast on, let's say, a series that goes over 10 seasons, right? The next 10 years of his life playing the same character in the same franchise. He's not up for that.
Right.
And you see that all the time from him. So now he's had some time to separate him from the sequels, and he's willing to have the conversation. That's consistent with John Boyega, first of all. And I saw this last year even, where he famously said, "You're not going to Disney Plus me," right?
Right.
and the last year he's like, "Oh, sure, I'd come back to Disney Plus for or to a streaming service to play." Well, no, not only that, but his production company signed up with, I think, Netflix to produce a streaming like content.
Right.
So So yeah, he's evolved, he's changed. I think that's absolutely part of the picture. But the other part of it is, I think a lot of people take something like this, and this is what I think you and I can discuss here a little bit. They'll take a piece like this and they'll read into it from their perspective. So I love the sequels. I'm going to say that all this nonsense about him being angry was blown out of proportion and wasn't at all what people reported it to be. He was never saying that, and he and this is just him down the road saying, "Yeah, I'm willing to come back." And then other people are saying, are pushing back, saying, "No, he absolutely hated what happened to Finn. He hated, and they had to have this reconciliation with Lucasfilm, and that's well documented. And he had a beef." Yeah. So now I'm confused. Is he mad at Kathy, or is he not mad at Kathy? Why is his conditions say, "Well, I'd do it as long as I had Kathy and JJ and maybe somebody else part of and the team"?
Yeah, well, maybe he did have a beef. That doesn't mean you won't come to an agreement. I mean, we've had disagreements, and I think sometimes those disagreements have gotten slightly heated, maybe not on the air, but we've kind of come to a means to agree to disagree, or to calm it down, and we're back to being friends again. I mean, not that we stopped being friends, but I mean the animosity that was starting to rise up ends.
Right.
And so I'm just saying that it seems from without context. I don't know the whole context of the conversation. Right. So it seems on the surface, so I mean, put it that way, to be somewhat contradictory of what he said in the past. We don't have the details in the middle. I'm not saying that some agreement wasn't worked out, or apology wasn't made, or or that saying this is not how we intended it, but we didn't really have a plan. It just kind of went this way. We had to take it where it was, and things got off track. It got off the rails. We wanted to end up in LA, and we ended up in San Francisco, but we tried to get as close as we could with you and all the other characters.
Yeah. And, that's a good point. I did try to tie all of our threads together, right? And this is how relationships do work. You and I have been modeling this on air weekly for over a year. And this is exactly how people with differing opinions and attitudes can even get a little frustrated with one another. Like, you're not hearing me, or you're not getting it. Right. And then it works itself out. And that can happen in text a lot, even more. And then when you've got social media that has hate bait clicks, right, that help exaggerate things, it makes it really muddy to pick up what the true story is. Right. And just some of the behavior of John Boyega is consistent. You just see throughout his career, like this repeating kind of pattern. I don't want to ever do that again. 5 years later, yes, I'd love to do that again. It's because he means I don't want to do that for the rest of my career. But he doesn't mind revisiting a role from time to time. We also,
and you don't know if that role that he's visiting is, a more mature Jedi role. So no, he's no longer the ex-stormtrooper. He's now the wise Jedi, Mace Windu role of what Finn becomes or something. Who knows? I mean, that's a completely different person.
Or the Luke Skywalker Finn,
right. Exactly.
Where he's a Jedi hero, and he's out there kicking butt, and he knows he's going to come back in a lead, right? And he and Rey are the stars of the show, Jedi kicking butt, right?
He could be the Plo Koon, for that matter, for all we know.
Yeah, I mean,
he was really a badass Jedi.
They could be a Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, or an Obi-Wan and
exactly.
Anakin,
We don't know where it's going, and the point of it is that he sees that potential for a role, and he's like, I'm willing to play that.
Yeah, right. Because he said, I'm open to the conversation.
Right.
So
I'm willing to play a different character to some degree, the same character, but at a different stage in life.
Yeah, a much evolved and featured, not just a side character, right? Like And I think that was a lot of his beef and a lot of people's beef with him in the sequels.
Yeah, I agree. He was really sidelined. I really didn't like what they did with his character. I think they had the perfect place for him to be and to come along in the story. And I really am disappointed with what happened with this character.
Well, I think that's true of a lot of people. And I'm not as disappointed. I'm also excited to see what they could do with Rey and Finn following the rise of Skywalker, and to see them grow as Jedi and learn.
I think with good writing and good thought process, I think you can develop those characters into being much more loved by the entire community than they currently are. And I think with some tweaking of going back and tweaking some of the sequel trilogy just a tiny bit, I think it can be done. And then with new stories to develop it out and write those characters out right. And I think that they can be loved by everybody. I mean, and I hope that a Filoni or somebody, along the lines can do that and take us into the next stage of Star Wars.
Yeah. We are in agreement, my friend. We are absolutely in agreement. And I've mentioned this before, and I've heard people like Thor, Skywalker, and others say, you would think that sequel fans would be excited if they got better Star Wars. And that's true. I'm a sequel fan, and I would be excited about better Star Wars because that's a dream for me. For people who are not sequel fans, they would love to see better Star Wars, for sure. So I think it's a win-win. In this case, win-win-win, right? Filoni wins, Favreau wins, we win. Everybody coming to the table wins. Lucasfilm wins. The franchise Star Wars wins. It's good for everybody. And I go back to sort of the optimism that I bring to the table. I'm happy to see that Lucasfilm's learning. I'm happy to see JJ's learning. I'm happy to see things moving in a right direction.
Yeah, I definitely think they made some mistakes, and I think they're learning. And let's hope that they learn to navigate between new fans and old fans, and basically give all fans a good story that develops characters and makes just really takes us through the hero's journey the way that Star Wars was originally established. And I think that the mythology of Star Wars is what needs to be the forefront. And I think too often we get distracted by other things. And I think we can bring that back. That's my take.
Yeah, I'm with you. I've got another bit of information that came to me during our show. And I just want to throw it out there. I can't quote it. I can't tell you guys where it comes from until I get some more info. Right. So don't doomcock me here, but I am going to say
block you.
Right. I need to get sources for what we're talking about, and just so
take this with a whole truckload of sugar. Do salt.
Candy canes and cookies. It says Mando season 3 started back in early April in California.
Okay.
It won't be long as it's 6 months away. It's confirmation that Mando 3 is well into production. It's countered the news from Bestwood Bulletin and others saying that it had not started. So it's well into shooting since early April. So so a pinch of snow. There you go. Mark Hamilton says, take it with a pinch of snow. With information, KRT said this back last month.
Doom Santa.
So KRT reported that Mando season 3 was already started. And then we got other people saying, no, it had not started. Now we're getting news again that, yes, it indeed did start. And again, what for me, the frustration is Lucasfilm's communications.
Right.
And I ranted about them before. And they're just not there yet,
Yep.
How they can let things go.
I think the truth is somewhere in the middle of that. I do think that they were doing some pre-production and some pre-shots in California. I think I've always believed that they were going to do that anyway. There are some things they can shoot in the beginning until they can line different things up. I do think there's some schedule conflicts, and I think they're trying to line those up. And so I think I won't be surprised if you see them shooting over the course of 6 to 7 months, not all one bit, but getting actors in when they need them in.
Yeah. Sure. Oh no. You know, look what you guys have done. Look, look what you've done. Stop it. Stop. Just stop.
I'll be Imagic Cthulhu.
Oh my goodness. No. So tonight we get Boba. Look at me. Tonight we get the Bad Batch. Episode 5. There is a survey you can go out. If you're on our Discord, you can see the link there. I put it at the very, very top up here. You can go to that survey and vote for what you think will happen. And we'll see, can you beat Santa? Right? Because so Santa's got his predictions in there, and we will record them. We'll see who is a better prognosticator than Santa. And it's just for bragging rights. And you could have a lower bar. This is me throwing shade, but
if you get it right, whoever gets it closest, I think Santa can put your name up and give you a whole scene, and we'll talk about how you were right.
We'll put. I tell you what. We'll take your avatar, your logo, and put it on the thumbnail next week. How about that?
Yep.
You beat Santa. You get your avatar. Whoever wins gets their avatar.
The winner is
right. You get your avatar on the actual thumbnail. So there you.
We'll make it so small no one can tell what it is, but it'll be there.
And if you beat a magic maker, then there's no prize for that. That's just way too easy. So no, and a magic maker, I'll send you the link. I'd love to get yours in there as well, so that we can play this together next week. And tomorrow on our Discord, we'll have all kinds of fun going on there. We're going to open up the stage for the very first time, and there's some changes coming. We've got a big announcement for the channel coming on Monday. And so we've got some collaborations in the works. There's lots of things going on. So we did talk about that, Dale. You'll have to go back and catch it. So you guys, please go check out a Magic Maker, his Discord server, especially where they do a lot of fan fiction writing, and they do weekly readings when they can.
Right. We would have had it this time, but I was out and I would have used my phone, but I lost my phone. I could not find my phone.
Oh,
and
no.
And I was not at my computer, so the only way I was going to be able to do was my phone. And Leah Love came on there. She was like, Imagining Maker, are we doing this thing? I'm like, and like 3 hours later, I go, I just found my phone. I'm sorry.
So you guys, one way to deal with your frustrations and your passion with Star Wars is to write your own fan fiction. And we have folks in the community who are passionate about that as well. And going out to the Magic Maker's Discord, his Discord link is in the description here. Go out there and join that community, join that discussion, and help each other write your fan fiction in Star Wars and express your passion for the franchise.
Yeah, and just know that you don't need me there for y'all to do that. So just because I'm there, it just means you get more comment from me, which you may not want.
And we're working on some other collaborations. Darth Chaco, X-Wing. If you guys watched Nerd Theory and you saw some of the Nerd Council that came in, you've seen Darth Chaco and X-Wing. Both of them are actively talking with me, as well as others. We're talking about with Krim from the Den of Nerds community. Krim and I are trying to work out a series of things to discuss as well. So lots of collaborations coming, lots of things coming down. And we're going to try to really keep the Discord community where we do things together. So come join our Discord, come join the conversation. Tomorrow we'll be out there on a Discord stage, and we can just talk about Star Wars. So until then, my friends, I hope you all have a fantastic day. And a Magic Maker, go with
May
it.
the Force be with you all.
Oh, Merry Christmas. God bless you. Bye-bye.